Okay, everybody. So welcome to my Wheatgrass Microgreens Foods of the Future presentation. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. So I just want to introduce Perfect Foods and talk about why wheatgrass and microgreens are the foods of the future and why I am dedicating my whole life to this. So this is a little bit what we're going to be talking about. We're going to talk about perfect foods. We're going to talk about why sprouts are the future, why living foods, sprouts, microgreens, the benefits of them, and even get into some delicious recipes of how you can use them. And this is information that we have gathered from my parents and from my family and from basically 40 years of kind of amazing knowledge and expertise. So please enjoy, and I hope that you learn something new and that you're inspired to incorporate these foods into your life and potentially even learn something new and learn how to grow it yourself. So just a little bit about Perfect Foods and who we are. This is a family company. This is me and my sister. I have another sister who wasn't here that day. My brother and I are now kind of co-owners. It's almost official. And these are my parents, and they started this company 40 years ago in 1982. Wow. And we've been really blessed to be brought into this business and born into this business and born into this lifestyle. Anybody who is on right now, if you can mute yourselves, please, just so that I can have it perfect and clear. So yeah, this is just one layer of the plant where we grow it. We grow it in Goshen, New York, upstate, about an hour upstate from Manhattan. And it's an indoor growing facility. So there's no bugs or pests or things like that. Really, it's not really an issue, but also it can be grown all year round. And as you can see, majority of our growing space is single layered, which is really cool because a lot of times growing spaces in urban environments are on racks, which is fine, but this allows for there to be concentrated light, artificial light on top of it, which is the reason why our wheatgrass is so green and strong and delicious. Many people say, actually, most people who ever try our wheatgrass say that it's the best wheatgrass that they ever had. Not to pat my own back or pat my brother's back, really, because he's the grower, but it's true. I've had wheatgrass from all around, and our wheatgrass is almost double the strength and sweetness. So it really has to do with the seeds and the humidity and the temperature and the lighting that we've perfected over 40 years. And quality is something that we take very seriously, obviously. Otherwise, we wouldn't be the premier growers in the country, if not the world, which is a really cool title, the Wheatgrass Growers of the World. Just a little cool background of how my dad started this. He started it in Brooklyn in 1982. His best friend was a hippie, and he was a lifelong friend from elementary school. His name was Jack, and he was working over in California dispensing wheatgrass at a juice bar over there. And he wasn't growing it. He was just working for a company, and he saw that there were hundreds of people standing in line for this wheatgrass juice every morning. And he was like, what on earth is this stuff? Everyone's telling me how amazing it is and how they can't skip a day and how it's changing their lives and it's helping them with autoimmune and with energy, and they're running around and whatever it is, it's like, this is miracle stuff and we don't know what it is. This was back in the early 80s when really nobody knew anything about anything when it came to health. And Jack came back over to New York and said, hey, Harley, why don't you, my dad is just like a total weirdo. So he was open to anything. He wasn't really a health nut at all. He was just a business guy, but Jack was a health nut. So he said, hey, Harley, there's this really cool stuff that's out in California. It's not here in New York. Why don't we see if there's a business opportunity? So my dad, being the businessman that he was like, okay. So they went into the East Village of New York City. They checked into a few juice bars that were there, and all three of them immediately said, yes, whatever you got, grow it for me. And that was the beginning of Perfect Foods. They had no idea how to grow it. They had no idea what wheatgrass was even. And they just kind of decided that they were going to go all in and see what they could do. So they were growing it in their backyard in Brooklyn until the demand grew up, and they ended up finding a kosher butcher shop in Brooklyn, the basement of it that ended up being sort of like an angel for my dad. And they were growing it in the basement of a kosher butcher shop, ironically, for probably about 5 years. And so they came upstate here to Goshen, where we are now. And my dad is kind of the first urban farmer on the East Coast because no one was really doing that. So it was really cool for him to kind of invent what he invented then, and now to create the sort of empire that we have now. So that's a little history on who we are. And we have become pretty big on social, so definitely connect with us. We are on Instagram. I'm always posting cool recipes and stuff. And I have a really great Facebook group now called Perfect Foods Health and Wellness Fam, where it has almost over 1,000 people in it, just like you, people in the area who just want to learn how to use these products more and how to grow and sprout themselves. Okay, so if at any time you guys have any questions, just post in the chat, tell me to slow down, tell me, hey, this is interesting, whatever, and I'm with you. I just want to go through and make sure I keep you guys captivated. So chapter 1 is why sprouting is the future. So sprouting is the future because they are these incredible small baby plants that have 20 to 100 times the nutrients as the adult green. And right now, all the rage is these nutritional supplements and getting the biggest bang for your buck and superfoods and powders and pills and supplements that people are charging a lot of money for. And the idea is we want to have these high concentration of nutrients in the easiest way, right? Everyone just wants like the most for the least. And that's basically what microgreens and sprouts are. They're the most nutrients in the least amount of space. And what makes them different than supplements is that they're fresh. So that's really why, really what wheatgrass and microgreens are. They're the 2 to 14-day-old plant having 20 to 100 times the nutrients. And another really important part is that as the seed germinates at this young stage, there is an explosion of biochemical activity in the preparation for rapid growth. And that results in this increased nutrient density. So that's why they're super powerful and so much higher concentration of nutrients. Now I want to get into something that I always teach about, which is kind of cool, the difference between sprouts and microgreens. We always kind of use those words interchangeably, but sprouts are the ones that you might grow at home in a jar with just in water without the soil. So sprouts grow in about 1 to 7 days. They're grown hydroponically, so just with water. They're super easy to grow at home, and they have a really high concentration of nutrient density. You can grow alfalfa, mung bean, broccoli, lentil, zucchini. You don't want to grow any of the beans like kidney beans, things like that. They don't sprout well. So they're a semi-short list of things that sprout really well. And I always say to start with, if you are looking to add more sprouts into your diet, just start with lentil and mung bean. That's what I always give for my cleanse. Broccoli and radish are also really easy to grow. The chickpea and garbanzo ones are kind of difficult, but they also can sprout. So if you're looking to make like a hummus or something like that, you can, but the beginner's sprout are mung bean and lentils, and each one has some different nutrients in them. And we'll go into that later. So the sprouts themselves, you can put into salads and into sandwiches and smoothies, or you can snack on them by the handful, and they're just really delicious. Microgreens, on the other hand, are grown a little bit longer. So they're 7 to 14 days old, and they're grown in soil. So they have a medium in them. And that soil is usually organic compost. So that's super important to have that organic compost. That we actually have organic compost that we get locally, and we make ourselves to an extent. We have it in our backyard. Well, not in our backyard, but in the backyard of our plant. And it's important because the soil contains more minerals, and the chlorophyll from the light, the being under the light provides it more chlorophyll. So I really believe that the microgreen is better for you because it has all those extra minerals in it from the soil and chlorophyll from the light. And these, of course, you can put the same as the microgreen, as the sprouts, you can put into salads and sandwiches and garnish them. Wheatgrass is very similar to all of these. It's also a sprout or a microgreen in that it's the 10-day-old baby of the wheat. And it's kind of the big daddy of the microgreens are the sprouts. It's the one of the more nutritious ones. And the reason being is because the reason why we've realized that is by doing research with animals. And there's a lot of research that was done in the 1900s on different animals that they were attracted to different microgreens and different grain grasses. And they were most attracted and benefited most from the wheatgrass. And that's why wheatgrass has become so beneficial and so popular. So, the deal with wheatgrass generally is that you need to juice it in a wheatgrass juicer. Many of you guys know that. And it's suggested to have about 2 ounces in the morning and 2 ounces in the afternoon on an empty stomach. And we've seen incredible results by doing it twice a day. So that's the overview of the wheatgrass and the microgreens and the sprouts. And this is just a little, inspiration on sprouts. We first soak and rinse them to remove the enzyme inhibitors and to help initiate germination. As the seed is nutritionally activated through the process of sprouting, it begins to break down starches into simpler carbohydrates and fats into fatty acids and proteins into amino acids. This, in effect, makes these nutritional properties more bioavailable to us when we consume them. And what we mean by bioavailable is that we really want to have whole foods rather than supplements, just like Shoshana was saying earlier. We really want to be having these whole foods. And that's why these sprouts are so great, because by having all of the vitamins and minerals in a high concentration in relation to each other as a whole food, it allows our body to respond to it and heal at a much faster rate, because it's as a whole food rather than just zinc or iron or magnesium separately. Does that make sense? So that's really where the power is in this little tiny itty bitty beautiful magnificent sprout. And each particular sprouted variety is composed of their own complex vitamins, minerals, and unique health enhancing constituents. One of the greatest benefits of all sprouts that they all have in common is the high enzyme content. And this is something that I really want to highlight, that is really important when it comes to sprouts, is that there are enzymes in them and they're alive. So this is one of the only rare opportunities that we really get to have live living foods in our body. And that's the difference really between a raw food diet or a plant-based diet and a living foods diet. And that's really what my cleanse and what our teaching is about having living foods. And that's where the sprouts come in, because we very rarely get those live enzymes and foods that are in their ideal optimal state. And that's what a sprout is. So sprouts and microgreens and wheatgrass assist in activating the immune system and are cleansing to the body. Those high in chlorophyll are effective at removing toxins from the cells and lymphatic system. They're also high in dietary fiber, which promotes healthy bowel movements and intestinal function, which is huge because that's one of the main reasons why people go for sprouts and wheatgrass and even raw foods and living foods is when they have IBS or they have digestive issues. When you have digestive issues, it causes a lot of clogging in your colon and in your intestines. And when your intestines are clogged, you're not able to release any of the toxins. And when you're not able to release the toxins, it causes disease. So whether you know it or not, a lot of our underlying health concerns are due to digestive issues. And that's why the dietary fiber and in relation with the other nutrients in the microgreens are so crucial. Also, I want to talk about the cruciferous vegetables. So many of the microgreens that we grow are cruciferous vegetables. So that's, broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, all of these are known to be extremely healthy and great for improving heart health, increased weight loss, reduced inflammation, regulating blood sugar, and fighting cancer. So I'm getting kind of technical. I don't usually go so deep into things, but I have even more technical things for you. Today is really kind of an informational thing, and I'll go kind of quickly, but at the same time, I want to have time for you guys to ask some questions. So this is really just an overview. This is an ebook that we have that anybody who wants access to this from this class, you get for free, which is really cool. So just give us a 1 in the chat and I will send you a link to this ebook and you can take a look at it. But basically, why are wheatgrass and sprouts the foods of the future? It's because they're ultra nutritious, they're inexpensive, and they can be grown anywhere and they have incredible health benefits. So for a low cost, people who are even in food deserts and who are have difficulty being able to, hang on, I want you guys to mute yourself, thank you, but have difficulty being able to find nutritious foods or even are very low economically. This is something that anybody anywhere can get a bag of lentils for just $1 and not only feed themselves, but completely nourish and heal themselves, which is a really great tip that we should be kind of advertising all around the world. Everyone needs access to this information, especially now when our immune systems are at risk. And the only thing that they want to do is give us more vaccines, more medication, more of the general Western medicine without talking about food. So I feel really passionate about now more than ever, educating ourselves on how to be more self-sufficient and more reliable on homegrown and just generally high nutrient dense foods that are superfoods. Because if at any time we can no longer rely on the system and can no longer rely on the supermarkets to provide us with nutrition, this is really all that you need. When the pandemic hit, the first thing that I did, rather than stocking up on toilet paper, was stocking up on raw almonds. I got like 50 pounds of raw almonds. I got like 50 pounds of sesame seeds. And of course we have all of our other seeds, lentil and mung bean and broccoli and radish, but that's all that we need. Everybody has the right to know that all that we need in this world are seeds, because from seeds you can sprout and you can create food and you can create life and you can create clothing. And that's really the true gold standard. And after we were hit with this pandemic, it kind of put things into perspective that nothing else matters. You can't rely on anything else but nature. So we really need to get a little bit closer to nature. And that's what we're doing here. So it also requires less energy to digest, which is really cool. So that's kind of the key with the living foods and raw foods diet, is that you want to give your body the highest concentration of nutrients, while also giving your body food that requires the least amount of energy to digest. That is what the living foods diet is. It's giving your body these really high concentrated foods like wheatgrass and microgreens and sprouts, while also knowing that those foods are digested in the least amount of time and require the least amount of energy. So foods like meat and dairy, and specifically seafood, really take about 5 to 8 hours in our body to digest. And foods like sprouts and wheatgrass take about a half an hour. So the difference between that is huge. And the amount of energy that's exerted during that time when we're digesting that meat, when we feel tired and exhausted after Thanksgiving, or when we feel tired and exhausted after digesting a huge meal, all that energy can be going towards healing ourselves and being preventative. And any of the toxins and the disease that's being thrown at us all day, every day, just from living in this world, we now can combat, rather than having to just digest that food first and foremost. And even I noticed, I've been raw for the most part since I started my cleanse in January. So I notice when I do have a cooked meal, I feel much more tired and just lethargic. It's almost immediate. And it's like, wow, there's a huge difference between living foods and raw foods versus the cooked foods. It just takes out the life and it takes out the energy. And if there's one thing that you take from this whole class, it's that when you eat something, when you sit down for a meal and when you finish a meal, it should give you that energy rather than deplete you from energy. So if you find that the meals that you're eating are depleting you from energy and making you feel tired at the end of it, it's time to switch over to lighter fruits and vegetables, because those never make you feel tired after you eat them. You always feel energized. You always feel better than you did before you ate it. And that's really what food is for, right? So it's funny when people are like, after a meal have to open up their pants. That's not what food is supposed to be. That's just kind of what we've created. So the other huge thing is protein. Everyone wants to know, where do you get your protein on a plant-based diet? And the little secret that most vegans even don't know is that it comes from sprouts. Sprouts are some of the highest concentration of protein than any other greens. And many plant-based people get their protein from tofu and other processed plant-based alternatives. But if you want to avoid any processed foods, which is always the goal, getting them from sprouts is the best and most delicious and nutritious way of getting that protein in. So you want to add them into salads and smoothies and just kind of grab at them while you're snacking during the day. And that's kind of the routine that you get into. And you don't really need anything else once you get into that routine. So, and there's all kind of fun stuff that you can do with these sprouts and microgreens. I even have, with the lentil sprouts, for example, you can put some cayenne or some paprika and just make different flavors as if it's a snack, and just have fresh organic, like as if it's popcorn, and that's the other thing I was going to say, is that it fills you up and it reduces cravings. So that's really huge. A lot of times when people are going plant-based or raw or just trying to lose weight, we have these emotional attachments to cravings. And the reason why we're having cravings is because we're not fully nourished. When you're fully nourished, you don't really have those cravings. There's also the emotional attachment to things, and late at night we're used to wanting to eat. So there is that component of like just the wanting the hand to mouth food, but generally throughout the day, you only are craving things because you're not fully nourished. For example, if you eat an entire bag of potato chips, you can eat that kind of endlessly, never feel really stuffed or full. But if you eat an entire bag of sunflower sprouts, you're not going to want to eat an entire bag of sunflower sprouts. You're going to feel full and satisfied because you're fully nourished. And it's a really amazing phenomenon when people are on my juice cleanse, for example, Anita. And the morning, the afternoon, you're fine. Then you have your wheatgrass. I hope you had your wheatgrass. If you didn't have your wheatgrass, that's probably why you're hungry. And then at night, you have your juice. And that is just, you're surprised by how pretty much satisfied and full you are by having just juice and liquids, because it's so nutrient dense. And those of you who have juiced before but haven't juiced with microgreens, that is something to experience, because that's a whole nother level of energy. Juicing with microgreens is a whole nother level of energy. I just want to see, somebody asked me a question. Do sprouts contain all of the essential amino acids? That's a really good question. So certain ones do and certain ones don't. And actually, Ann Wigmore used to say that sunflower sprouts and buckwheat sprouts eaten together combine a perfect complete protein. So there is a lot of interesting, I have to say also, this is another thing with me in the, I guess you could say, the beginning of my career and my journey with this, is there is not enough concrete information as far as nutritional content, because when every time I look at a different nutritional analysis, it's like very dramatically different. So as far as telling you exactly how much protein and exactly how much iron and magnesium there is in the sprouts, I can't, because every time I look it up, it's so different. And the reason why we know that it has all these vitamins and minerals, and the reason why we talk about this and so confidently without actually seeing it on paper, is because of the concept that a sprout needs everything that it needs in order to create a full living grown adult plant. In that case, it needs everything to sustain that adult plant. So we know that it has this high concentration. And Johns Hopkins University found the concentration of different nutrients, has done a lot of research on different microgreens and their concentrations. And that's where we found these numbers of 20 to 100 times the amount of nutrients, depending on the sprout. It might have 20 times the sulforaphane or 40 times the zinc or of a specific mineral or vitamin. So it's very variable, but generally it's as close as it's going to get. I think in combination with one or two of them, you're going to get a more of a complete protein. It's inexpensive, it's accessible, and sustainable, right? We all want to talk about sustainable, and never mind recycling. Not never mind recycling, but you never know what's going on in those plants. Let's be as sustainable as we can within ourselves. That's controversial for me to say. I should probably take that back, but it's kind of the truth. So as far as sustainability and protect fossil fuels, that's to me the most important thing that we can do from a sustainability standpoint. And the way to reduce the amount of fossil fuels is to grow food locally. I really believe that growing local food is the most sustainable thing that we can do, not only for fossil fuels, but also to support local businesses and to support our local community. So the concept of microgreen growers and wheatgrass growers, that ideally I will have franchises all around the world, is a really beautiful and inspiring concept, that there will be local growers in every community. And you don't have to be outsourcing to China for your fruit or for your vegetables or for your sprouts. You can get all of your nutrients in a concentrated form, and you can grow it sustainably in any environments, which is really cool. Most foods we can't grow in other environments. These you can grow indoors, even in an urban environment. So this is really an answer to, God forbid, if there's a situation you can grow this food sustainably, which is really cool. Again, feel free to ask more questions. Ron said, can you juice microgreens with a Dr. Squeeze Green Queen juicer? Yes, you can. That is what I definitely recommend for you to do. Wheatgrass and microgreens need to be juiced in a masticating juicer because they are so small and fibrous. They need to be in a juicer that can really juice leafy greens. Here are some yummy benefits. It supports your overall immune system. It gives you energy and improves brain health. There's a lot of studies from Johns Hopkins University that find that broccoli microgreens help with anxiety, depression, schizophrenia, and even improving autism symptoms, which is like kind of unheard of. There's not many other foods or studies that show that results, like cancer chemicals. That's the main reason why broccoli sprouts and broccoli microgreens became so popular. If you haven't really heard about them, although I'm sure most of you here have, broccoli microgreens have become all the rage, and sprouts. And it's pretty incredible how much it's blown up, and even the medical and naturopathic community. I recently did a workshop with the Naturopathic Association in New York. Naturopathic doctors are doctors that go to med school while also learning Eastern medicine. And they talked, I actually went up and gave them a lecture on broccoli sprouts, breaking it down for them from a scientific perspective, from a doctor holistic perspective, where they can actually learn to prescribe it to people rather than prescribing supplements. And they took it really well. And they're now hopefully going to actually be prescribing these foods as medicine rather than just supplements, which to me is the real future. Rather than just prescribing, powders and pills, we're going to actually be prescribing foods. Can you imagine that? We're going to try and get this stuff on insurance. Okay, so why living foods? So when we are cleansing, are we just eating the micros? So no, when we're in this cleansing diet, we are going to be having fruits and vegetables, avocado, seeds, something like this, with delicious dressings. And it's not just the sprouts in the wheatgrass, it's a combination of all the raw fruits and vegetables. The only thing that you won't be having is nuts, not really heavy on the nuts or the dates, at least in the first couple of weeks. And trying to keep the fats as low as possible, because that really kind of reduces the cleansing period. So really good question. And just take a look at this beautiful salad and appreciate all of the life in there. Let's see. We are the only species on Earth that eats food cooked. Interesting. Sprouts, microgreens, and wheatgrass are the main components of the healing raw food diet. Someone here said that they love Ann Wigmore. And the program that I teach here is based on the Hippocrates Health Institute, Optimum Health Institute, and Wigmore Institute, and basically the Hippocrates diet taught by Wigmore. And Wigmore is the mother of the raw food diet, and she single-handedly educated people all around the world. She actually went around from hospital to hospital in Europe, teaching and healing people with wheatgrass and microgreens until the hospitals caught on and told her that she couldn't because they were taking away her business. It was pretty interesting when I was reading about that, and it also makes sense because I have a lot of trouble getting into hospitals, despite the fact that it makes so much sense to have it there. So there definitely is something going on and a pushback from holistic medicine. However, we are pushing through 100%. Cindy said, how long are sprouts still good after making and keeping them in the fridge? Sprouts are still good once you make them. It usually takes about 2-3 days to make them. And once they have that tail about the same size as the seed or double the size as the seed, you want to go ahead and put them in the fridge, and they will last you 5 to 7 days. Keep them with some paper towel and keep them as dry as possible. So that's my answer to you. To be honest with you, as long as they don't smell bad, they're good. I've had lentil sprouts for 2 weeks that were still good. So as long as they don't smell bad, they're still good. But if they feel gooky in any way, that's not good. Don't try and wash them off. Don't try and wash the gook away. I've done that too, and don't do it. So I want to just say that the Hippocrates diet teaches that there are 2 main components of disease. Number 1 is deficiency. Number 2 is toxemia. And deficiency means that our bodies are undernourished. That's because we eat potato chips. Our bodies are undernourished because we're not having majority raw fruits and vegetables. We're having majority processed foods. So that's one thing. We are deficient in these nutrients. That's why we're so gung-ho and hooked on supplements and multivitamins. And number 2, our bodies are toxic just from our environment and our food, and even the destructive emotions and stress, I really believe, are a huge part of the toxemia that's in our body. So the goal with this raw foods, living foods diet is to give our bodies food that will, number 1, nourish us so that there will be less of a deficiency. And number 2, allow our bodies to rid from the toxins. And that has to do with digestion and elimination. So a lot of the ridding of toxins has to do with elimination, allowing our bodies to have that fiber and that protein and the right nutrient density to actually eliminate all that stuff that we need to. Okay. So the main components of the raw living foods diet are wheatgrass, as you guys know. Have you ever heard of it? 2 ounces in the morning, 2 ounces in the afternoon on an empty stomach. If you can, those of you who have trouble with the wheatgrass, 1 ounce, a half an ounce, whatever you can to build yourself up to it. And then green juice every day, or even having actually in my program, I do a 2-day juice cleanse. So that's with 50% microgreens and 50% cucumber and celery. That's like my favorite Hippocrates green juice. That's in my cleanse, and you guys all should be drinking that. If you're ever feeling down or ever feeling sluggish, that's my go-to. Just go ahead and make yourself a juice or a smoothie with some microgreens, and immediately, it's almost instantaneously lifts your energy levels. Raw produce, of course. And the key is it has to be not heated above 104. So there are dehydrators, and you can warm things up in a dehydrator, but anything 105 and up is killing the enzymes, and 104 and below is maintaining the enzymes and nutritional value. Fermented foods like the seed cheese or Jubilac and the sauerkraut that I sent you guys, that's where there are fermented foods. And that's all part of the raw foods, gut health, and living foods diet. These are some resources of different books that you can learn about raw foods. The Anne Wigmore Wheatgrass book, Survival in the 21st Century, Victoris Culvincis. I actually want to have Victoris Culvincis come on. He's still alive, thank God, and he's really like the father of wheatgrass. And we have a really good, close relationship with him. I actually am interested in starting a GoFundMe for him because he needs some support, and he's really the father of wheatgrass. He's changed so many lives with this book, and it's really spot on for what it means to survive in the 21st century. It's pretty interesting. He was really spot on, and he's totally ahead of his time. And these are just some other books and things like that. Anne Wigmore's quote, "The food you eat can be either the safest and most powerful form of medicine or the slowest form of poison. The food you eat can either be the safest and most powerful form of medicine or the slowest form of poison." So sprouts, I want to just read this excerpt from the Hippocrates Diet and Health Program book from Anne Wigmore. It's really inspiring and I like it a lot, so I put it in my book. Can you imagine seeing a classified ad in the newspaper that reads, $1 million reward for information leading to the creation of an edible plant, food that grows in any climate, rivals both beef and store-bought produce and nutritional value, matures in 3 to 5 days, may be planted anytime, requires neither soil nor sunshine, equals oranges and tomatoes and vitamin C, has no waste, can be eaten without processing or preparation, is digested with little effort, costs less than any other food per food value dollar, lasts several days without refrigeration, is low in calories, offers complete protein, and has been tested and used as both food and medicine for thousands of years. So that is the truth of it, and that is what's going to be. It's funny because, you know, I think that there is really a huge kick. There's a couple companies that are teaching people how to sprout at home, like Hamama. I hate to be advertising them, but they're doing a really great job. I don't know if you guys see their Facebook ads, but I do. Obviously, I'm like the perfect person for it. Here, I can't see in the dark. And there's a huge push in the past year. I swear to the world that there is a push for sprouts and microgreens in the past year. And mark my words, in the next 4 years, it's going to be the thing. There's not going to be a plant-based magazine that doesn't talk about how sprouts and microgreens are the #1 thing to be eating, because it's just such a no-brainer, and it's something that's so under talked about. So you guys are ahead of your time by being here, and please spread the word as much as you can. This is a little bit about sprouting at home. Of course, delicious microgreens are a lot more difficult to grow, but sprouts themselves are pretty easy. So this is just a general view of how you can do that. Those of you who are in my program already know, but mung bean, radish, broccoli, these are the ones that I always recommend to start with, and lentil, of course. And that's really just putting about a half a cup or a cup of the seeds in water, submerging it in water, leaving it overnight, and then putting a little cheesecloth on top of it and turning it upside down until they sprout. So once you drain them, you rinse them and drain them twice a day and leave them in a little bowl like this so that they can drain fully. And in a few days, they actually become a sprout. And this is what different sprouts look like. They have a little tail that's about twice the size of the seed. And yeah, lentil is really high in protein. Mung bean is really high in fiber. Radish is spicy and delicious. And the broccoli is, of course, the antioxidant, anti-cancer superstar. And they store in the fridge for about 7 days. This is how you want to store them. You might put an actual cap rather than keeping the cheesecloth on there. Once you're storing them in the fridge, make sure that you put a cap on and put some paper towel. And these are some things that you can do with them. So you can put them in sandwiches, you can make salads, you can just snack on them, you can put them on avocado toast, all that stuff. And if you're looking to just start sprouting with us, you can get a kit. We have like a little sprouting kit. If you're not ready to do the whole cleanse or anything other than that, and you're inspired by this class and you want to just start sprouting, you can for sure get that kit. So let's see, this is 2 different ways that you can sprout. You can sprout in a jar, or you can sprout in a bowl with a colander. This is actually how I do it in my house. We have just little colanders and bowls all around our kitchen table rather than using these jars, because mold can develop in here if you don't rinse it enough. You can see how packed it is. If you give it some air space like this, it's a little bit less of a risk. I do want to say, as far as mold goes, it is a little bit of an overstatement. There was a huge push for sprouts not being safe because there was someone who got sick from E. coli from alfalfa sprouts. And that is definitely an over exaggeration. Yes, a couple people did get sick, but that was many years ago. And that was from a manufactured facility that was doing it in large scale. When you're doing it at home, you have way more control and you're overseeing it. It's a lot less of a large operation, and it's a much less of a risk, so that's not something to really be concerned about. These are some of my delicious microgreens and my babies. So these are the pea, these are the buckwheat, radish, and sunflower. There's all these different wonderful studies on them. A study suggests that microgreens can have many times the nutrient density. Johns Hopkins University found that it has the highest level of sulforaphane, which is in much higher concentration than other broccoli, and they're likely to have phytonutrients beneficial to our health. And there's a lot of other studies as well that I can share with you guys. I have some links as well. And these are just beautiful pictures to inspire you, to show how wonderful and exciting they are. A lot of restaurants use microgreens and arugula just for garnish, but I always get a kick out of that because they don't realize that that's the least of it. That's really the least of it. These are sunnies. These are my favorite and pretty much probably the more popular ones. Definitely the highest in protein, and they're nutty and they're crunchy. And they're really great for making smoothies. These are pea, they're really high in fiber, and they're kind of stringy. So they're on the sweeter side. So I like to chop these up a few times if I am eating them, because they're kind of difficult to eat. Are we supposed to see your screen? I don't see it. Uh-oh, are you guys able to see my screen?
I can see it.
Okay, good.
Yeah, we see it.
Okay, cool. And yeah, so these are the peas, the buckwheat. Buckwheat are really cool. They're kind of tangy. I don't know if you guys have ever had buckwheat before, but these are kind of understated, and I don't even push them that much, but that's my bad. I really want to start pushing them a little bit more. They are kind of citrusy. So these are actually one of my more favorite ones. Anybody who's in the cleanse, I'll send you a buckwheat next time. Broccoli, of course, the superstar, and radish. They're beautiful and they're spicy and they're pink. And the color mix, I put some arugula and cilantro and mustard in these. So these are really fun. A lot of restaurants get these from us and they put them on for catering and this and that. So really quick, I just want to talk about soil grown versus hydroponics. So we are really a huge proponent of soil grown microgreens versus hydroponic microgreens. As you can see here, this is the difference. This is our microgreens in the soil, and this is really what a hydroponically grown pea shoot looks like. There's a company that's in Pennsylvania, Sproutman. There are two Sproutmans, not to get confused with the Sprout Brothers that sell seeds, but there's a company that sells just sprouts. You can find them in the supermarket often, and they are hydroponically grown. And it's important to notice that, because when I saw this, I see them in the supermarket and I see how yellow and watery they are. And it really raises a question to me that, wow, because it's the only thing that's different is that it doesn't have that soil. And there's so many fruits and vegetables that are being grown, and lettuce that are being grown hydroponically now. And people don't really think that it's a big deal. And not only do they think it's not a big deal, but they think it's a good thing because it's less messy and you can grow it in an urban environment. But the truth is that we are playing God and we're putting nutrients into these foods, thinking that we know what it needs as a whole organic food, but we don't. And you can see it right here. This is the difference between allowing compost and organic soil to do its work and thinking that we know how to do it. It makes a huge difference. And so when you're at the supermarket, when you see those hydroponic lettuces, try and rather go for the soil grown ones, because my hunch is more than a hunch. It has to be the truth that more and more people are going to be, more and more farms and infrastructures are going to be towards hydroponic infrastructures. So the growing facilities are going to be urban and they're going to be hydroponic, and that is going to lead to more and more of our food to be grown hydroponically, and that is going to lead to us having a slow malnourishment. Soon we're going to realize that all of our food is not having the nutrients that we need, and we're going to be in a worse off place than we are even now. So to try and maintain that organic soil is essential for our livelihood, and something that we definitely need to give some attention to. So wheatgrass, of course, 1 ounce of wheatgrass juice is equivalent to having about 2.5 pounds of green vegetables nutritionally. It's really high in chlorophyll, as you can see, this green color. You don't see anything like this. And chlorophyll helps to build healthy blood. And there's a statement that goes around that wheatgrass is 70% chlorophyll. That's actually not true. It's 70% of its solid form is chlorophyll. So those of you who are doing my cleanse and get the frozen wheatgrass juice, you can notice that it separates when you thaw it, and the little green particles at the bottom, that is the pigment and that is the chlorophyll. So majority of it is actually water. But there you can actually see where the pigments are, and that is the chlorophyll, which is kind of interesting. Then we've got the immune system support, of course, which is what everybody needs right now. This is just, I would say, the number one benefit of wheatgrass is preventative and protective. It's good for energy. It's good for lowering your blood pressure and your blood sugar. But the reason why most people drink it and they never stop is because it is a multivitamin supplement that is preventative and protects you. And that is so needed in today's age. Of course, it does help with weight loss as well, because it actually curbs your appetite and it nourishes you. So those of you who are looking to lose weight, wheatgrass is a really good resource for that. One quote that we like to say is that wheatgrass is to an adult as mother's milk is to an infant. And wheatgrass is majority water and about 15% everything needed, all of the vitamins and minerals. And that's what mother's milk is. It's majority water and about 15% everything needed to double a baby's weight in a short period of time. It's pretty miraculous. So it's really, like I've said about the bioavailability, it's not about what concentration or what amount of nutrients is in it. It's more about how it is in relation to itself as a whole food that makes something a superfood. And that's why this is a superfood. So yeah, essential amino acids, because the body builds protein using amino acids, you can say that wheatgrass is a source of protein. It's significantly better to get protein from plant-based sources, and studies suggest that eating excessive animal protein is the leading cause of many chronic illnesses, including cancer. That is from the China study from Colin Campbell that I'm sure many of you are interested in and have seen. If you haven't seen Forks Over Knives, that is the plant-based movie to see, documentary to see. Okay, so this is just, how much to drink. You want to have 1 to 2 ounces or 4 to 6 ounces, depending on what you need. You can actually not only just drink it, but you can do enemas with it, which we are going to have. I was going to have today be about colon and digestion, but my colon hydrotherapist, who's going to be here tonight with us, said she would prefer to do it another time, and I'd much rather her be here than me talk about it. So we're going to talk a little bit about how to use wheatgrass in the other way another time, which is super interesting. And like more actually, the mother of wheatgrass says that she thinks that consuming wheatgrass through an enema is actually way more effective right through the intestine wall than drinking it. So she actually prescribes that even more than drinking it. Juicers, masticating, blenders, centrifugal. You always want to use a masticating juicer for wheatgrass. A blender will just wrap around the blades over here and you'll be in a bad shape. A centrifugal juicer you'll barely get anything out of it and it'll ruin the motor. So don't even try. Definitely you want a masticating slow juicer for wheatgrass. And if you don't have a juicer or you're interested in juicers, Mark, you can make a chat below if you have any questions on juicers, and I can assist you personally on what you might need. I do want to mention that not all wheatgrass is the same and quality does count. Many people have noticed that, like I said earlier, our wheatgrass is significantly sweeter and stronger than other wheatgrasses. So you definitely want to make sure that you're getting it from a good source, even if you are not from our region. Fresh is best, right? So that's kind of our whole thing, is that it's better if you can get highly concentrated fresh food, it's better than getting supplements and pills and pharmaceuticals. So definitely try and get everything that you can. Fresh wheatgrass is much better than the pills, meaning don't get the powdered and the pilled wheatgrass. If you're going to drink wheatgrass, do it fresh. If you're going to go out of your way to do it fresh. If you can't get fresh, then get frozen. We actually have it already pre-juiced and frozen, and we ship it to you like that if you're in our region. And these are other usages, rectal implants. If you have any pets love them. Pets really do love it, actually. Each pet is kind of different. And these are kind of different things that we sell. We sell these juicers and the kits, this and that. And of course, then I have a few of our favorite top recipes that are in our cleanse. This is the Hippocrates green juice that I talked about. This is just a salad where you put some sprouts in with some red cabbage, throw things together, some blueberries, and you've got yourself a salad. And then, of course, my favorite smoothie with some microgreens and pineapple and pear and dressing. So this is carrot and ginger and kind of what a raw foods meal should look like. And that is everything. Oh, well, we also have a Reset Cleanse. Those of you who are not in the Reset Cleanse and are interested in trying to live this lifestyle and improve your health and lose weight and feel good with some structure, that is it. So thank you, everyone, for
thank you.
Me. And does anybody have any questions?
Rebecca?
Yes.
Oh. Want me to say anything about what I've gone through? I couldn't really talk when you asked me to talk because I was driving and I couldn't get distracted as much as I could have been. So do you want me to, or?
Always.
Okay. So I was diagnosed with follicular lymphoma in 2008, and I was told about Hippocrates and changing my life, and I kind of fought it for a year because I didn't want to change my life. But a year later, initially they told me I didn't have to do chemo, and I was all for that. I watched my father die from chemo 30 years ago, over 30 years ago, from leukemia. So I kind of really did not want to have anything to do with chemo. So a year later, they kept checking me. Everything was good until a year later, they found another lymph node growing close to my heart, and they wanted to do chemo. And I said, nope. And the doctor said, all right, I'll see you in 3 months. He kind of saw that I definitely wasn't going to do it, but he wanted to see if I could do something in 3 months. If it didn't do, he saw no changes, then he was going to push it harder. So I knew I had to do something. So I had already seen 3 signs to go to Hippocrates. And I finally said, all right, I'm going to go. And that was the last straw when they told me they wanted to push chemo on me. So I went in 2010, the beginning of 2010, And it was a 3-week program, but I couldn't do a 3-week program. I had 2 really busy shops at the time, auto repair shops. And I told them I'll do 1 week and then I'll be back in a month. I'll do another week and then I'll be back another month and I'll do another week. And it served me well. But when I first started it, I was like, it was like, total shock to me. I couldn't see me doing this stuff, but I kind of was determined and I did it. And I will tell you that the first week of doing it, I did a lot of things that I never thought I'd do. I came back home and I went full on, all in, whatever you want to call it. I was a raw foodist. I became raw food, 95%. I would just have something cooked just to basically play with my brain. That's what I thought. And I guess that's what I did. And I just drank juices and ate big salads. And a month later, I went back to Hippocrates. And initially, I had lost 8 pounds the first week while I was there. And on my own, I had lost another. And I needed to lose some weight. I mean, I was in good shape, but I was in even better shape after doing this. I'll tell you that the next time I went to Hippocrates, I just got even better. I felt amazing. And I went my third time. I had lost 30 pounds in all. And when I came back to New York, went to the doctor, and he saw my lymph nodes shrink. And he says, okay, I'll see you in 3 or 4 months. I'm like, cool. He didn't talk about chemo. I was happy. And I kept doing this diet and kept feeling amazing and kept going to Hippocrates. I've been to Hippocrates 15 times. And in that journey, I learned about perfect foods. And because I needed some more sprouts, I luckily had a deli that had started juicing, and I asked them if they could do a juice that I asked them to do, and they did. And I would drink 3 to 4 green drinks a day, 6 days a week. And Sunday was my kind of break day where I would have some more solid food. But I lived on juicing, and people say you can't, but I did. And I really felt amazing. And then every time I had a chance to go to Hippocrates, I did. And, it was a really cool experience. And what Rebecca's offering, I think it's amazing. You guys are very lucky to have Rebecca to offer you guys this. Hippocrates is great, but it's kind of costly. And to be able to do it in your own home, it's not the same because you get to talk to people, you get to hear lectures, but you get to hear Rebecca give some of her lectures and talk about Victoris. I actually got lucky enough to have a one-on-one with him recorded, and I'd love to listen back to it. It's really cool. Those are the kind of cool things that you get to when you go to Hippocrates or places like that. But I did it, I want to say totally raw or mostly raw for probably about a good 8 years. And then, I decided to have some more cooked food. But it was amazing, and it will be amazing because I'll probably do it again when I feel I need to. And, it's good to know that you have something to fall back on if you need it. And, I've been through a lot, and it's just a really good feeling knowing that we have a place like Perfect Foods to help us out. So thank you. Thanks for letting me speak.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Neil.
Thank you.
You're breaking up.
Sorry.
You say something?
Yeah. Just thank you so much. You're such an inspiration. I think that, your story has inspired so many people too. And a lot of people come from this not thinking at all that they can do it and that it's not for them. But you are the ultimate manly man. And if you can do it, anyone can.
Well, it takes willpower, but you have to have that. And listen, it wasn't easy, but I made it easy because I was lucky enough and unlucky enough to have a father that passed away from what he passed away and watched what cancer and or chemo did to him, the both. And having that is kind of inspiring to me to not go through what he went through. So.
Yeah, I totally understand that. Okay, does anybody thank you so much for sharing that. I can't say thank you enough. And all of you, thank you for listening and being here and being patient and honoring this experience and learning and being open to all this craziness. Even though it's not craziness, it's actually the truth. So the fact that we've been so far pushed away from it is the real true crazy. Is there anything else that any questions that you guys have for me before we go tonight? I know it's late, I'm sorry.
And Rebecca, if anybody wants you have my phone number, if you want to give it to them, if they want to.
Yeah, I was thinking one thing that I wanted to do originally in my cleanse was to have like a buddy system. Never really worked so much, but I'll probably post in my group chat if anybody actually would like to be partnered up with a buddy to have like a kind of an accountability buddy and create a real friendship and relationship. That's kind of something that I wanted to do as well, to create, rather than it's all just, within here and a little bit superficial. I want you guys to actually have like a real relationship with somebody. So I'll post in the group chat if anybody wants to do that. Those of you who are not in my cleanse and are just kind of listening, you can be part of the community and the group chat by joining the cleanse. So just, can we contact you via email to talk? Can we contact you to talk sprouts? Of course, that's my favorite thing in the world. So yes, just contact me. perfectfoodsinc@gmail.com is the best thing. And I hope that you guys have a beautiful night. But yeah, I'll put here right now. If anybody who's not in my cleanse already, Mark, Hayes, Ruby, Ron, if you guys want to, please do actually follow up with me and just give me your email and your phone number, and I'd love to set up a phone conversation. We can just see where you're at and how I can help you. Just generally, maybe you'll get, a small package, or you might do the whole cleanse, or you might do some kind of coaching program, any support that you feel like you might need. He says, not in the cleanse, but living it. Perfect. Alrighty, everybody, thank you so much. I'm sorry that I went so late tonight, but we had a lot of good content and a lot of amazing speakers and amazing people in here. And also, I'm really proud that this group is growing. In the beginning, when I started, it was usually just 3 people that were in the class with me, and now there's 16. So I imagine that in a month or 2, there's going to be 30 or 40, who knows? And if you have any people that you think that this will help, please help me grow this and heal more people.
Night.
So, have a good
Good
night.
night.
Rebecca,
Good night.
Don't
Rebecca,
go.
Everyone.
we sent you our email and phone number in the chat. So before you sign off, you might want to write it down.
Everybody.
Okay,
Thank
I
you.
got it.
Thanks, Rebecca.
Rebecca, I just
Good night,
had
Goldie.
one question. What's the
Yeah.
best juicer for the wheatgrass and the microgreens?
You don't have a juicer? We must have
I
talked
do.
about
I
that.
do have a juicer. I do,
Morning like
So-
but I don't know.
Well,
It's
the best juicer for all of them, if you're gonna have one juicer, would be like the Omega or a Tri-Best, some kind of masticating. We're not going to be selling the Omegas anymore because they're like impossible to get in touch with. So we're now actually leaning towards the Tri-Best, which is also great and pretty much the same exact thing. So we're going to be selling them. We're going to be getting them in next week. So if you are on the market for a juicer, I'd probably just wait for that, and I can sell you that. It's a Tri-Best low masticating horizontal. But what juice?
I
do you know
have
what
an
kind of juicer you have
Omega.
currently? Oh, so that's fine.
But
The
it broke.
Omega's
Yeah, so I'm actually trying to get in contact with Omega, and they are very hard to get in
They're
contact
impossible.
with. So
Even for a single person like you, that's one thing. But we're a wholesaler trying to buy in bulk, begging, and they will not respond to us.
that's
So we're like, you know what?
problem.
Screw you. We're done with you. We're not selling your
And,
stuff
and
anymore.
Tri-Best is TRI best.
Yes, TRIBEST, Tri-Best, and they have really similar juicers. We've used their juicers before. They're great, and they're even less expensive.
Okay.
So we're all for Tri-Best. Yeah.
Okay.
So you just are getting the cleanse this week. So meaning you actually need it ASAP. So yeah, you should just buy it directly from them.
Okay. Alrighty then.
Yeah. I wish we could have it to sell it to you, but that's okay. Just
Okay.
get it as soon as you
Good
can.
night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
And Mark, I have your email and your phone number, so you're all set.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for
Have-
coming. It was so nice to meet you.
Pleasure.
Nice meeting
We
you
have lots
too.
of questions about your products.
Okay,
so.
good. That's what I want. All right, so I'll set you guys up for an appointment. Actually, when's a good time, as long as I have
Let's
you?
see. Most days around, most days around noon, 1 o'clock.